I guess we've had the time for the feedback. Now it's time to get into our class. So 2 to 3 weeks ago, I started this program where I get to interact with my VIP members. As I said, I don't only teach you guys how to import from China, I teach you guys beyond that. I'll have other programs that are going to be coming up subsequently. Some will be free, some will be paid, but we'll talk about that later. So far we've had our first program, which is our paid program. So I'm trying to build a community whereby which you guys just don't just come and buy the program, learn to import and go. Obviously, when you learn to import, you have to learn how to sell those products. We all know that selling on WhatsApp is not that efficient for those that sell on WhatsApp because you are selling only to those that you know, and those that you know rarely buy from you. So there is a way to sell online. I'm creating a program for that where you can be able to sell online. For example, none of you here was my contact before, but I was able to sell to you. That's because selling has an algorithm. There's a way that you package your product and you sell even to strangers that don't know you. You guys still have products that you guys want to sell, and you not only sell to people that you know, but before that, I cover also concepts about religion, philosophy, life in general. I might be young, but I cover concepts on life, right? So last week, the last 2 weeks, we had our gist and we talked about the currencies of life. That means everybody is born rich with four currencies, but just that we are educated on one of the currencies. The currencies of life that we have is money, energy, attention, and time. Those currencies, why are they called currencies of life? Because when you're wasting time, you say, I am spending time. When you're when you're wasting your attention, you say when you want somebody to pay attention to you, say pay attention to what I'm saying. So you are here that to use those terms, you use transactional terms. That is, pay attention to what I'm saying. I am spending time. When you're tired, what do you say? I am spent. So those currencies are called the currencies of life. I held a class on that, and last week I explained. Now we entered a series of the psychology of money, whereby which we're covering what it takes to make money without suffering. It's true, we all know that there is no shortcut to making money because those that take shortcuts always end up going back through the long road. We know about stories about people that try to take shortcut by being thieves, by entering cults and all of that. But that's not within the scope of our class. Those are esoteric things. Here we are talking about nature stuff. So there's a way you can earn without having to toil because we all know that for those that have had to do construction work, the person that works the hardest at the chantier is the person that earns the least. Whereas the engineer that has the contract, he does not even work, but he earns more than everybody combined. That's because there is a science behind that, and I covered that science last week. Last week the class was about the algorithm of money, the psychology of money, and it had three parts because money in itself has three equations. The first equation is how to make it, the second is how to manage it, and the third one is how to multiply it. So last week we covered how to make money, and how what I explained last week was that in order for you to make money, you need to convert your currencies of life, which are, you need to convert your energy, you need to convert your attention, and you need to convert your time, and you need to convert your money to make more money. I went further to explain how each of this is used. For example, when you are an employee, you are using your time. That means you're selling your time in exchange for money. I explained how Facebook is in the business of attention, whereby which you sign up to their platform and you sell them your attention, but you're selling it for free. I explained all of these things, knowing that for you to be able to make money, so to speak, or to earn money, the formula is this: you need to convert your currencies to be able to create something of value and to be able to sell that thing of value in exchange for money. That's why if you even study the old depiction of God, for those of you that are Christians, I'm not trying to preach to anybody. I'm not a pastor, please. First things, I'm not a pastor. If you study the old depiction of God, God in the beginning, when he said that when he's using words, he said, "Let us make man in our image." So when you study the depiction of God, I study the depiction of man. When you say make man in our image, what exactly does that image refer to? Is it that we look like him? Maybe, but that's not really it because none of us have seen God with our eyes. Those that saw God in the Bible that have been accounted, I think it's Moses seeing him as the burning bush, Jacob seeing him in darkness. So there's really nobody that have seen him. Christ came as a human being, so we know him as a human. So what then is that image of God that God created us to be like? That's because God gave us a creative power. So as human beings, we have the ability to create. A dog cannot create. A dog is built instinctive. A dog just knows how to eat, sleep, bark, and whatever. But a human being can sit down out of nothing and create something of value. That's why I said that for you now to make money, so to speak, you need to be able to harness your energy, which are your energy, harness your currencies, which are your energy, your attention, your time, and create something of value. Then you use your money to capitalize on it to push it forward. And I went further to explaining how to leverage and all of that, whereby which there are four forms of leverage. I talked about leverage as a form being capital leverage, where with your money you can invest in other people's businesses and get dividends from it. I talked about labor leverage, whereby which I explained the depiction of the labor market as a mirror reflection of slavery. Sorry if my tone is a little bit harsh, but I explained that in details how the way that the system has been built before slavery was legal, but now that slavery is no more legal, they have masked slavery into something called labor, whereby which now you voluntarily want to become a slave and you go to somebody and you ask the person for a job on what you can do yourself. Sorry if what I'm saying might be harmful, but we all start there. It's okay to work for somebody. I'm not saying that you should go quit your job, no. But I explained all of that in details last week. So today, assuming that we are all adults, we know how to make money at different levels. Everybody here comes from a different background. Others earn more than others, but we are not trying to use our levels of income. No, we are all humans before all. Now that you have made the money, that now some people, it does not really matter how much you make. It matters what you do with what you make and how much is left after you have made it. Because what's the point making a million francs a month if at the end of each month you have to borrow money from people for you to survive? So that's what we are going to cover today. I hope you guys are excited. So now,
Yes, yes, we are excited.
exactly. So we are going to cover exactly the term how to manage money. Before I go into this, I would like to first of all tell us this. All of us come from different backgrounds. Some of us grew in a mindset where if you had 50 francs, you had to save 25 francs and live on 25 francs. Others were raised in families where if you had 50 francs, they say you live one, so you have to go and spend that money and then you stay like that. Others were raised in families where you spend that 50 francs that you had and you go and borrow another person's 50 francs to add on it. So all of us come from different backgrounds. But at the end of the day, we are all governed by this thing called money. Whether you like it or not, you live on earth. And for you to transact with people, we have a universal language called money. So what if you figure out a way that you can maximize the amount of money that you make, maximize the amount that you keep, so that you have maximization of how you be able to multiply it? That's what we're going to cover today. I just jotted down some things on my study notes, so I'll be picking one thing and explaining most of them in my head, but I just had the point so that I'll know exactly what I'm picking from. So I'm just saying that it's not we should not be guilty if it's like the kind of person that you are earning money and then at the end of the month you have nothing to show for it. It's okay, but it's not okay to stay there. At least every end of the month you should have something that okay, I've been working. What if they fire me? Will I be back to square one? No. You should be able to arrive at the point where if your boss fires you, you can be like, okay, we'll see how life continues. And because you already have savings that are kept somewhere where you can live on it while figuring out your next step. That's why the things that I wanted to cover here, it might sound like basic knowledge, but you'll be shocked at how many people don't have this knowledge at all. At times, I'm I get to interact with so many people often on a daily basis, and I talk. People come from me for consultation at times, and I'm shocked at how people like a father that has already at the level where he's giving birth to children has not yet figured out the fundamentals of life as saving money for rainy days. They will just say that they say if you don't save, then you are not safe. If you don't save, then you're not safe. And I want to cover now more about savings because you don't just save for savings, you save for a reason. Now, after I've covered that, the very first step now to the manage money equation is this. How much do you make? I'm not saying that you should say how much you make. No, nobody should say it. It's not proper to say how much you make in public. So everybody, after this class, you should sit down by yourself. You get a piece of paper, and then you determine how much every month do I make on average. Probably you're an employee, nothing bad with it. You're somewhere that you earn maybe your money every month. Is it 100K? Is it 200K? Is it 300K? Is it 50K? How much do you make? You take a paper, you write that, okay, my work gives me this. Probably you have bonuses certain months, you put it down. Maybe you have two jobs, you're working this one and then you're supplementing it with this one. You should know exactly how much you're making. Because if you cannot quantify it, then you cannot see whether it's improving or decreasing. Because if you track how much you make, let's be honest, you'll be shocked at how much money is touching your palms on a month. That is for you. But since you are not aware of that amount of money that is passing through your hands, you squander it. That's why I would like to use this the scripture in the Bible that David says that man that is in honor but knows not is like a beast that perishes. That's to say that you have money, but the lack of awareness of how much money you have makes you squander that money and you keep turning in circles. You keep that like I mean you realize that maybe after 5 years, 10 years, you have nothing to show for it. You have been working hard. You have been diligent. So the Bible says, a diligent man shall make it before the table of. But you have been diligent, but there's nothing to show for it. And you see another person that is quite lazy, but he knows these principles and he's able to go faster. They always say, life does not reward you according to your efforts. It rewards you according to the knowledge of your efforts. That means that if two of us are to carry a bag of cement to the road, you carrying it on your head to go there and I pushing it in a wheelbarrow to get there, the objective is for the bag of cement to go there. But I, with the knowledge that I am not supposed to carry it on my head, I am more efficient than you have to carry it on your head. That's just a metaphor to tell you that it's not okay to just earn money. It's okay to earn it, but it's also better to keep it. The very first step now to keeping it is to know first of all what you are keeping. How then do you know how what you're keeping? You need to track everything that comes into your hands. At the end of the month, okay, probably you're working two jobs, you have a store, you have this. At the end of the month, you should know that okay, this one came in, this one came in, this one came in. Now this is the total amount that I have. What do we do from now? What am I doing with this? We're going to get into those details later, but I just want to say that the very first step is to track how much you make. Step one to how to manage your money is to track how much money you earn. Now, please a minute. Let me just give me a minute. Let me hydrate. Drink water. Okay, I'm back. Now, one mistake that people do concerning this how much you make is that for those that run businesses, probably you have a shop, you have a store, you don't exactly know how
Mr.
much your store makes. That's because
Bruno,
yes, ma'am. Can you
Well,
guys
I'm
get me?
totally lost, so because of poor network.
Oh, I'm recording it. Probably I'm going to edit it and send it inside the class in the group for the VIP class for those that are not following to be able to catch up. But not say you guys should leave the class because there's a recording. No, you guys should stay here.
I said I'm totally lost. Yes, I'm getting you now like this. But at first I was not.
Okay, as I'll
Okay.
just do a 1 to 2 minute recap for you to follow up. So I was explaining that money has equations, that is, they make, manage, and multiply. And today we are focusing on how to manage your money. And the very first step to know how to manage your money is to be able to track how much money you make, because unless you track how much money you make, you no be able to know whether you are losing money or you are keeping the money. Are you in sync? Madam Pokam, are you there? Well, probably the network is not the best, but we're going to proceed. So as I said, the very first step is having to track it. But now to track that amount of money you're making efficiently, there are certain parameters that you're supposed to take into account. Very first thing is for those that are workers, salary earners, that one is very easy to track because at the end of the month, they're going to pay your money cash or they deposit into your mobile money or they deposit to your bank account. It's very easy to know whether you're making 100K, just know that at the end of the month, your 100K is coming in. But if you're a business person, the thing now with a business person is that your money does not come one time. There's a day that you earn much, another day you earn small, another day you earn much. So it's like it's a sine curve. You're earning sinusoidally. And now, how do you do that? What most people do as mistakes, most people, if you are here and you are guilty, collect yourself. What most people do is that inside their business money, they don't even know how much they earn inside. So you might be eating your capital, but you don't know you're eating your capital. At the end of the month, you ate inside, you paid rent inside, but you don't know how much you made exactly. And whether the business is falling or is growing, you don't really know because it's the money that you have been eating, you have been taking transport, and you don't really know. So, for those of you that have businesses now, what should you do? Knowing that you have gone through this and you're maybe facing what I'm just from explaining. What you need to do is this: your business is an entity. That's why in French they call it une personne morale. Your business is an entity on its own, so it's supposed to be nourished. Every month, you're supposed to track how much went into the business, how much did the business generate, and what was the profit. That's why in primary school they taught us simple interest, cost price minus selling price as profits, all of that. Selling price minus cost price as profit. Knowing that okay, at the beginning of the month, I was having products in my shop worth 50,000 francs. I bought products 50,000 francs. So currently I am having 100,000 francs worth of products in my shop. At the end of the month now, maybe you took that inventory on January. Now on January the 31st or February the 1st, you realize that at the end you had 200,000 francs. Now what you do is that you take 200,000 francs minus 100,000 francs. Know that you have 100,000 francs. Now you go again in your shop and you do the inventory of what is left in your shop to know that okay, now my shop there are products that are this amount, so that you know exactly what your business is doing, because a business is a person, it needs to be fed. If you are not feeding your business, then your business will grow dry and you die. What do I mean by feeding your business? You have to invest in your marketing, you have to invest in customer service, you have to invest in ensuring that you have the latest thing, because if you have a shop and somebody enters your shop 3 times to ask the same thing and you don't restock, they are not a serious person. If you sell, for example, shoes, somebody enters and say, madam, you get this particular shoe, you say no. Another person comes and asks, madam, you get this particular shoe, you say no. Your mind is supposed to say, if 2 people are asking me this shoe, then there's a demand for this shoe. Let me buy this shoe so that when the third person is going to come, I'll sell it to the person. That's why your business is now supposed to have money for you to be turning the business constantly. All this turn around that I'm talking is just to come back to the fact that once you have a business, you should not be eating from your business actively, but you should be treating your business like an entity whereby which at the end of the month, you know how much he generated, how much he consumed, and from the difference that he made, which is your profit, you should make sure that you keep the capital apart. You never spend the capital. Now, inside that profit, you pay yourself from it. And then now the rest is to be reinvested in it. Because if your business starts with 100,000 francs and at the end of the year it's still 100,000 francs, it's not growing. But let us say you start the business with 100,000 francs, and then every month the business is making like 120, 130, 140. Every time you should always be saying that, okay, my capital should be increasing as the month is going. Even if you don't increase it directly, you should have a savings account where every month you are keeping it, knowing that at the end of the year, I'll take this to reinvest it back in my business. Because if your business is either growing or it is dying, it is never stagnant. All right. That was just to explain the part of managing your money as a business person. I said the very first thing on managing money is to track how much you make. How then do you track how much you make? For example, if I ask any of you here that how much did you spend today? How much exactly do you spend today? Maybe some of you might know, some of you might not know. But if you don't know how much you spend in a day, how will you be able to project how much you spend in a month? How are you able to project how much you spend in a year? Knowing that, okay, if I earn 100,000 francs, that's just an arbitrary figure. If I earn 100,000 francs and I'm spending 3,000 francs a day, that means by the end of the month, I will have spent about 90,000 francs. If the calculation is correct, you guys should correct me if I'm wrong. That means that probably my lifestyle is expensive. Then where is that money going to? You need to track that. It's not easy. I know the talk say easy. It's hard, but you can do it. So how then do you track the money that you make and how much you spend? Usually you can use an Excel sheet. You can use an Excel sheet or you can use an app. I have this particular app in my phone that I always use to track my expenses. And guys, I started doing this thing about last 2 years, and it's mind blowing how much money can enter your hand and go out of your hand if you don't know. I'm going to send the link to the app. That's it. It's called Income Expense Tracker. That's the app there. You guys might not see, but I'm going to send the link for those that are interested. It's a free app whereby which when you get the app in the beginning of the month, you put how much you earned in that month. Maybe you are somebody that you're earning from different sources. Maybe you have maybe 2 businesses, you have a job. When this one come in, the app calculates that this is your income. From that income now, when you go maybe to a shop and you buy something for 10,000 francs, you put inside the app that, okay, I bought Okrika dresses for 5,000. It's going to deduct it so that when you're spending the money, it's just like you're spending your life and you're seeing it in your hands. Okay, I'm left with this amount. If I make mistake, I'll not be able to go through. The reason why is because some people don't know how much they spend, and every month they go and borrow more money to pay for the lifestyle that they could not control. And you find yourself living in a cycle where when you collect money, you pay for debt, you live with a small one. At the end of the month, you borrow more money, you pay for debt, and then you find yourself in a circle. But whereas if you harnessed the one you had properly and you managed it properly, you figure out where your money goes to. You block the places that are leaking. For example, probably your own problem is that you give money to people so much. It's okay to give money to people, but you are not the messiah for everybody. Nobody. It's okay to say no to some people certain times. That means once you know where the money is going to, you'll be able to direct its focus. That's the very first step. So now you already know that the very first step to managing your money is first of all knowing how much comes in. The second step is knowing what you spend on. Once you know how much you're spending on everything, you can now from there deduce a budget. Now, what is a budget? You've probably heard about this word, a budget, probably on YouTube, on TikTok, but you don't know exactly what it is. A budget is a projection of how much you're about to spend. That's why they always say the yearly income budget of Cameroon is about 10 billions. It's about this. That's because in the beginning of the year, they projected that the projects of Cameroon this sector is going to collect this one is going to collect this one is going to, and then all of that is going to make this. At times, you can go beyond the budget that you projected. That means that the amount you started with, maybe you budgeted your end of your month to be 100K, but you can go beyond. That one is called a budget surplus. I think it's budget surplus or budget deficit. Yeah. When you spend more than your budget, there's a term for it. I don't remember if it's budget surplus or it's budget deficit, but it's one of them. And if you spend less than, you can now know that, okay, I can live for 90,000. So you optimize and you figure out what to do with the remaining 10,000. Let me hydrate, guys. Okay, you figure out what to do with the remaining 10,000. Now that you have known that, the very first step to managing your money is to know how much money comes in. The second step is to know where the money goes to. The third is to project what you can do with the money so that you can optimize where it goes to. What then do you do? How then do you do a budget? There is this general rule of thumb that is used by most business books and most books in fact. It's called the 50-30-20 rule. Probably you've heard it. And that rule says that for every money that you have, 50% of it is for your needs. Now, what are your needs? Your needs is not beer that you're supposed to be drinking. No. I know so you should not drink beer. I have no problem with somebody drinking beer. But when you're alcoholic, now it's a problem. Yeah. So 50% is to cover things like your rent, your shelter, your feeding. If you have children, the children must eat, they must go to school, they must do certain things. So those are the basic needs. So 50% of your income is supposed to be dedicated to that. The next 30%, for those that are Christians, no problem with it, please. There's usually what you call tithing. So 10% is to pay tithes or to give. You might not be a tither, but you might be somebody that gives. At the end of the month, you should be able to say that, okay, this money for this 100,000 fund, let me just dash 10,000 funds. Even if it's to my mother, she should do something. Even if it's to my younger brother, you should be able to remove some of that money to dash people. See, because once you are having an abundant mindset, when you feel that, okay, money goes to those that give, and not say you should be a squanderer, it should be those that give, because they always say if your hand is like this and you cannot be able to open it to give, when the Lord wants to bless you more, He's going to find that hand close. So these blessings are going to fall down. That's why you should figure out that for every 10, let me just say 100,000 francs because it's a round figure, 50% of it is already sent out for your needs. House rent, feeding, transport, children, clothing, and all of that. Now, 10% has been spent now for your for giving, whether it's as a tithing or whatever, giving. Now, inside that one is 40% that is left. Now, 20%, usually this 40% now is according to your ability to optimize. It depends on you. 10% of it is for your education. The very first thing is that the more you know, how much, the more you know, the more you can do. How far you go, they say how far you know determines how far you go. That means you should invest in yourself. You should buy books, you should buy training, you should buy courses, and all of that with 10%. The other 20% now is for saving, because if you don't save, you are not safe. All right. And now the other 10% is for your enjoyment. I mean, you came to this life to also chop belly full. So at the end of the month, you can go and sit in a restaurant and you command food like a boss and say, you drink your cold beer. For those that drink beer, if you're somebody that goes out for clubbing, you can go out and club. Not trying to judge anybody's life here, please. So that's how the budgeting works. Now, why then should you save money? We always say that save money, save money. But you guys have also heard that when you save money, the money loses value with respect to inflation. That means 100,000 francs last year is not the same as 100,000 francs this year because of inflation. Now, what exactly is inflation? Inflation is the reduction in the value of money, whereby which things grow up in price and then money cannot catch up with that growth in price. So now when you save money, even in the bank, you're losing it because the interest rate is small and the inflation rate is higher. And you're like, okay, people say let me save money. I go save the money, then I no go do anything with them. That's what people say. So why then should you save? From economics, there are three reasons why you should save money. Three main reasons. The very first reason is security. When I mean security means that we never know. Bad luck happens to everybody. Nobody knows what is happening tomorrow. You can go to the office tomorrow, your patron say shop don burn, work no see dey. No wishing it on anybody. You can get sick. It's not when you be sick that you look for money to go to the hospital. That's why you need to save. That's why even for those that are Christians, in the book of Ecclesiastes, they say, cast your bread upon the living waters, for when you shall return, it shall be there. That means that you should save your money so that when you be in trouble, that money will be there to save you. That's the security part. You save money for security purposes. That's the very first reason why you save. Other people might call it emergency, where you don't know somebody might die. Nobody is wishing anything on anybody, please. And you have to send money, you have to travel. It's not then that you will start figuring out when you need the money. You should have had the money earlier enough, saved somewhere, such that once that time happens, you already have money at hand to do it. Another thing is also that probably you save money, but you do not really know, but you have to save because you can be fired from your job anytime. Your business might crash anytime. You always need to have money saved because if you don't save, you are not safe. Now, how long should you have this security money kept up? You should be able to access your life and see how much is your cost of living, and you save for 6 months. Once you've saved for 6 months, you know that you're safe. After those 6 months now, you can channel your savings into the other buckets of savings, which I'm going to talk about now. So the second point now, reason why you save now, is for is for transactional reason. Wait, the second reason why you save is for speculative reasons. Why? What do I mean by no? Let me first say the second reason why you should save is for transactional reasons. What exactly does it mean should be transactional? For example, you want to buy something, but you don't have the money at the moment. There will never be a time when you have the money complete. But what if you start saving the money for that thing? For example, you saw one nice shoe that you liked, and the shoe cost like 50,000 francs, but you cannot buy that shoe at once. Like you move 50,000, so go buy that shoe. It go hurt you. So what if you can save? Like okay, every month you're putting in 5,000 francs inside that bucket, 5,000 francs inside that bucket. So much such that once it's time, you can be able to buy that particular shoe. That's what they call saving for transactional reasons. Where you're saving for something. Maybe you want to change house, you want to equip your house, you want to buy a new gas cooker, but you don't have the money at hand yet. You save so that when the money is full, you can buy that. So that's the second reason for saving. The first reason is for security. The second reason is for transaction. The third reason why you should save money is speculation. Speculation means you cannot predict, you're speculating. That means that this is where they call it, this is for business opportunities. For example, you might have like 1 5 million laying somewhere. You don't really know, you just know that that money is there for a reason. And then somebody's in trouble and he has his land that he wants to sell. Because you had that money saved, you can be able to grab that opportunity easily. Probably you guys know this or you guys don't know it, but that's one of the reasons why you save. You save for speculative reasons because you can be saving for a business opportunity, you can be saving, and then something comes up that is needs sharp money, and you should be able to take on those opportunities sharp. For example, you might be a parent, you have children, and then you're saving money, Then there's this opportunity sharp that okay, there's this line to Dubai. It's a legit line. You should have the money instantly, know that now opportunities don't come. You just hold the opportunity and then you be able to send the student wherever they have to go. All right. So those are the three main reasons why you should save money. That means the very first thing we have covered inside this manage money series is that you should track the amount of money that you're making to know exactly how much you're making. You should know how much you're spending. From how much you're making and how much you're spending, you should be able to determine a budget that predicts how much you're going to live on. Know that if you're making 100,000 francs and you're spending 120,000 francs, that means your lifestyle is supposed to be adjusted. If you're spending 100, you're earning 100,000 francs, you're spending an 8,000 francs, you should not squander that remaining 20,000 francs. You should direct it to somewhere that is more lucrative. That's what I'm trying to say here. Now, the third thing is to save, where you save for three reasons. The very first reason is security or emergency. The second reason for saving money is transactional, whereby which there's something you want to buy but you don't have the money yet. And then the third reason for saving is for speculative reasons. I hope we are all together and you guys are enjoying the class. If you are enjoying, you can leave emojis so that I should not be talking to myself. Okay. Okay. Now, I made mention of the fact that when you're saving is for speculative reason. Some of us here in Africa, we might not know how to save money. That's why there are things like Njangis that exist. I'm not encouraging anything to anybody. You guys are mature enough to know that. Whereby which every month you know that you're playing Njangi for 20,000. You're playing that Njangi, you know that okay, this is money that you can use it to turn with it. You can turn your business with it. That's why now you're saving there for a speculative reason. You know that you're saving, you know that once the money is going to come in, you'll be able to do something with that money. That's speculative reason why you're saving. And if you notice well, the Njangi system is what have been able to build our economy as Africans. The banking system, when you look at the banking system from an underlying principle, it implements the Njangi system, but just that they have made us believe that it is the best thing. I'm not saying that banks are bad, no. But if you study the way banks work, how does a bank work? A bank is a place where people come and put money in there, and then those that need the money come and buy the money. That's how Njangi works, whereby which 10 mothers create their Njangi that play 5,000. Then the day one of those mothers have a problem, she can go and buy money from the meeting. I don't know if you guys are understanding what I'm trying to put in here. So that's the way you can be able to save using Njangi, using different applications and all of that. And now, talking about, I made mention of speculative reasons. I'm going to cover investing or multiplying money next week at the next series. But right now, I just want us to just cover up the some nuggets. All right. Now, when you talk about investing, the very first investment you should make as a person, especially for those under 35, is investing in yourself. Probably you've heard this so many times from so many different places. But what does it mean to invest in myself? It means that you should acquire more knowledge, you should acquire more skills. You guys know that free information never delivers quite that much. But when you buy quality information, you have the information that you are looking for. That's because you're investing in yourself. All right. Now, from there, the various ways you can invest in yourself is to buy courses, buy books, attend seminars, pay for coaching, belong to communities. There are just so many ways, all right? Now, the next thing that we are going to cover now is we already talked about your needs, what exactly your needs were, whereby we should talk about your needs being your rent, your food, school fees, clothes. And we talked about your wants. Your wants means your enjoyment, your outings, and all of that. You're a person, you're supposed to enjoy the money that you're earning. Now that you know that You have already done this. How then do you go from here? I've already told you guys now how you can track your expenses. I've talked about you to be able to track your expenses. You can use an Excel sheet, you can use a notepad, you can use an app. I'm going to share the app with you guys. If you guys are interested, you guys can go through it. And then now the ways to save. I've talked about how you can save your money by leveraging on Jangis, leveraging on cooperative unions, leveraging on credit unions, using applications, the apps that exist where you can save your money in. The one I use is called Kwa. It's very legit and it works. And now once you have now reached at the point where you're able to track your expenses, know where your money goes to, being able to save money, what's the next step? You need to be able to automate it. You have learned how to manage the money. Now you need to automate it so much such that immediately your money comes in, it already has direction that it is going to before you even think about it. Because I don't know if anyone here knows that, but the moment there are some people that, if not most people, where you have money that you have no plans for it, that money finds plans for himself. For example, you had one 10,000 francs that you wanted to buy something with it, but you did not buy that thing at that time, and you remove just 1,000 francs from that 10,000 francs. Do you notice that before you flop that 10,000 francs back, you go suffer for this life? That's because you need to ensure that your money is like a slave. Where you don't give a slave work to work, he's going to look for work in your field and start working. So that means when you have money, you should give that money a job, because if you don't give him a job, he's going to look for a job for himself. And most of the time, the job he's going to look for himself is not necessarily the one you're going to give him, because he always finds a job. For example, you can be walking on the road. It's just that day that you had 500,000 francs that when you were crossing your door, there was a stone in front to kick your leg on it. That stone has always been there, but you have never kicked your leg there. But because you had money, you had to kick your leg there, and then you go to the hospital until that money finished before you came back. But had it been that that money came in and it had the direction that it was going to, you wouldn't have gone into that situation. That's what I'm trying to say, that you should automate your finance, knowing that at the end of the month, when you collect your money, now this one where I get for hand, this one you're going here, this one you're going here, this one you're going here, this one you're going here. And once you have distributed it, you discipline yourself to ensure that you're in those places. It's not easy, but it's very possible. All right. Um, that's that for about how to manage money. It was a very short class. I'll open the queue for you guys to ask your questions and give me feedback concerning the class before we can call this a day. Over to you.